Today, we filed an original action. We filed straight to the Supreme Court of Wisconsin because there's millions of dollars being siphoned away from our public schools and kids are getting hurt on a daily basis.
You know, there are so many different things that are a problem with the voucher schools, the lack of accountability, and certainly the fact that they choose the students they want. And so students with disabilities, students with behavior issues, or are different in any way or need additional services, the voucher schools don't have to take them. And in fact, many schools actually actively kind of counsel them out.
When we see 70% reimbursement rates for special education moving down to 26 to 30%, what does that mean for schools?
What it means is that kids will not get what they need because legally you can't cut special education, which means you cut from the general fund. And therefore, there goes the math team, there goes the football team, there goes any social programs. And what it does is it's going to contrast kids with disabilities versus kids without. And people are going to say, well, why do we have to fund them? And it will create an absolute war between those who have and those who have not. You have to realize this is not a choice. This isn't school choice. This is a purposeful bankrupting of the education system.
But as of today, as of this budget that was just passed, we still only get reimbursed at approximately 30% compared to the vouchers and charters now with the new budget being reimbursed at like 95%.
The state of Wisconsin has a $4 billion surplus right now. So it's not as though they can't find the resources or there's no way that they could make these investments, that they have to make hard choices. They're simply choosing not to. I mean, they're simply deciding, at the higher ed level and K-12 level, they're simply deciding that they're not going to invest in these resources and give kids the resources they need.
A while back, the battle in the courts was about whether a state could fund religious schools at all if it so chose. But now states don't have a choice. If they fund any private schools, they have to fund religious schools.
And those voucher schools get their money first, and whatever's left is kind of divvied up and balanced out throughout the rest of the state of Wisconsin.
No one has looked at the fact that until very recently, school choice wasn't available anywhere else but Milwaukee. Milwaukee is a city. It's a city that is made up mostly of Black and brown residents. And for some strange reason, and I'm not even going to call this strange. At this point, I don't know if I can call it anything other than racism, but how is it that Milwaukee continuously is underfunded? How are they targeted for these scams and these things?
The people that it hurts the most are the most economically disadvantaged areas, because the general aid formula is to help them keep their property taxes in check based on their poverty. And the more that voucher money is taken out of that general aid, the higher the tax impact is on those communities, which to me is the reverse Robin Hood effect, right? We're taking money from the poor and giving it to the richer, which just doesn't make a lot of sense.
There's no state law that says that students require educators who are certified and trained in all these different areas.
Only in public schools. It's like the Wild West. It's why anyone would choose to put their child into a system where you literally give up your rights as a parent to be actively engaged in the education of your child.
But once the child is enrolled in that private school that's participating in the special needs scholarship program, the parent and the school, the private school people, look over the IEP and they decide what they're going to deliver. They do not have to deliver any of the services that are in the IEP.
But they can take the $15,000.
But they can take the $15,000
until the third Friday. Until the third Friday.
Well, as long as the parent says that what they agree to provide is sufficient. If the parents say, okay with me, then they can take the money without providing any services to the child.
And there's even a term that's emerged, because this is so common, something called pop-up schools, which they open to take advantage of vouchers, and then they shut down after an average of only about 4 years. And we're seeing this borne out, like not just with a couple of anecdotes, but actually with sort of like systematic data.
And if you look at the demographics side by side, private schools do not perform better than public schools. And as a matter of fact, public schools do a better job at educating students than the private school students because private schools get to cherry pick or select the elite.
Their test scores were significantly lower than the public school districts in Wisconsin. So they're really, this whole idea that the voucher schools are outperforming public schools anyway is nonsense, because sort of objectively they aren't.
And where students who are in public schools have, there's an issue, they have the right to challenge that, and there's a hearing, there's some protections for them. And these students sign their rights away to due process when they go to a voucher program.
There is irreparable harm happening to students every day, and under the guise of creating choice, they've created a cancer on our public schools, and we've got to get rid of it.
The Supreme Court of Wisconsin just sent an order to the plaintiffs, in this case, us, and the defendants, which is Robin Voss, the Department of Public Instruction, and the Wisconsin Department of Administration. And they ordered all of us to send in arguments to convince them to take this case immediately. It's going to probably, skip an entire year of litigation if they take this case right away.